I came to Heartbroken to Heal because I felt like I was exhibiting a lot of behaviors that I didn't really understand about myself. I was doing certain things I didn't understand where they were coming from. And I'm a little bit of an overthinker, so you can imagine how frustrating that is when you can't seem to locate what the reason is for such things. And I was sitting in church one day and they spoke about a grief recovery course. And then I thought, one time when I was sharing my story with someone, they told me, wow, you've experienced a lot of grief. Could it have something to do with my grief? I thought, and yeah. So when I started kind of exploring how I felt about certain situations, starting certain conversations, I realized that I was carrying quite a lot on me as a person, and I think it was starting to kind of show in different areas of my life. One of my favorite parts of the program was the grief history chart. You know, you get to look at someone, a very important relationship or a meaningful relationship that you had with someone, and see, kind of explore it in a lens that looks at both the good and the bad. And it's weird because I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves that opportunity to kind of take a neutral view over something. You know, you're either remembering all the good or you're remembering all the bad, but with this you kind of have to sit down with yourself and really kind of take a look at both the good and the bad. And you then start to realize, oh, right, okay, this was significant because of this reason, this was significant because of this reason. This kind of happened as a result to this. And having that overview, that whole picture really, really changes how you look at a situation, how you look at a relationship, and how you look at your grief. I feel like because myself, one of the main relationships I was looking at was, from my light, I was looking at it positively anyway. But what was interesting was now kind of looking at how some of the positives affected the negatives and vice versa. Because you don't really take a moment to kind of think, oh, like, where did that come from? Why did that happen? It's just like, oh, this horrible thing happened. It's like, oh. But when you look at the chart and you look at through like a kind of like a linear pattern, you're like, oh, right, this happened, which made me feel this way. And then I carried those feelings over into this moment. And in that moment, I then reacted in such a way, or you reacted in such a way. Yes, I'm very pleased I did the program. Extremely pleased I did the program. I feel I can communicate a lot better about how I feel, about my emotions. I feel like it's easier for me to kind of, I'm not gonna lie and say I'm perfect. I've just been like, boom, and I'm awesome. No, it still takes me probably like a couple of days to where I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing right now. I've got the urge to do this, disturb, I've got the urge to do this. So, and I kind of step back and I'm like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that. So how am I gonna approach this? And because I've learned to communicate, and when I say communicate, I don't necessarily mean with anyone else, I mean with myself as well. And I think that's one of the key features that, Heartbroken to Heal really, really emphasizes and gives you the necessary tools, to kind of be able to tackle. Talking to yourself. Like, I believe like 95% of the conversations we have in a day are with ourselves in our own minds, and now I'm getting to a place where I can have a conversation with myself about how I'm feeling, about what I want to do, about how I want to act, and in turn kind of put the necessary steps or precautions in place to where I'm like, actually, that might not be the best thing to do in this situation. So that's a necessary tool I think I got from that. I think if I met someone who was grieving, who was unaware of what they were feeling, the first thing I would say is go see Julie Shepherd. I'll play. But if they're unaware, I think it's about having a kind of conversation about seeing how they're acting, how they're feeling about what they're acting. And I've actually had these conversations with a few people already, and a few of them being in my own family, to where I'm like, I can now associate certain actions from certain people that say, oh, I feel like there's some grief kind of going down here. Yeah, I think I'd be lying to you if I said I'm a pro and I'm able to tell it in everyone just like this. But one thing I know I definitely do now more than I ever did, which is ask, is there something you're grieving? Do you have any grief that you might not be aware of? Because I don't think we're aware that we have grief sometimes. And I can't stress to you, the importance of being able to communicate, not just with other people experiencing grief, not just with other people you interact with on a day-to-day, but just within yourself, and that's really, really helped me. And I feel like I had a lot of people in my family, in my own relationship, that I felt like, ooh, the communication that's going there might not be the best. I feel like there's some things we need to kind of look at. And yeah, so I would definitely 100% recommend people over to Heartbroken and Healed.